Welcome to the Bad Tutors Podcast. If you're here for the newest, up-to-date, accurate information on the nerdy topics that are near and dear to your heart, well, let me tell you, you ended up in the wrong place. Here, we're all about hot takes and grandiose displays of misinformation. So stick along for the ride, and you might just blow a blood vessel or two. So, Ian, you're more than a fan of those games where you have to do repetitive tasks to get to that quote-unquote end game contact. I'm talking OSRS, old school RuneScape, and the MMORPG from British gaming company Jagex, RuneScape. Today I'm not going to talk about any of those.
I have been accused of these things.
I'm only going to talk about the game that I care about in this sort of category or genre of games, and that's Monster Hunter. Now, really, Monster Hunter is a series of games, and one that I have played for a very long time. For me, I started on my PSP with Freedom Unite, and that is a game in the second generation of Monster Hunter, and it's the third released game of that generation. So, Monster Hunter 1 was originally released in 2004 for the PlayStation 2, and then you got Monster Hunter 1G, which was basically DLC for Monster Hunter 1. Monster Hunter 2 came out also on the PlayStation 2. And then we got on the PSP, Monster Hunter Freedom. Then we got Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. And that was my first game that I played a lot of. I actually got into Freedom Unite after the release of Monster Hunter Tri. Monster Hunter Tri is the first game in the third generation, and there's been many games since, and we're now on our fifth generation of Monster Hunter games, and those would be Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise, as well as Iceborne and Sunbreak, which are the expansions or title updates to those games. But today, I don't want to give any thoughts on the gameplay or the games themselves, why I love Rise so much, or any of that. I want to talk about the actual world of Monster Hunter, not the game Monster Hunter World. And I want to bring to light the amazing creation myth of Monster Hunter, as well as all of the history prior to the games, briefly summed up.
I am very excited for that because you might say this in a second. Anyone that plays Monster Hunter knows that the lore doesn't matter at all, but that doesn't mean that it can't be good. So I'm excited to learn it just because I never got into it myself. And I would like to give a brief qualifications of my own Monster Hunter playing as well. I technically started with Triu, I believe, when I borrowed it from a friend for the PSP, and immediately went into the hub quests instead of doing the solo missions, and neither of us could figure out why that game is so fucking hard, and then we never played it again.
Wait, Triu was only for 3DS. I think you probably played like Freedom or Freedom 2 or Freedom Unite.
It may have been. It was so long ago, and we didn't play it enough to really remember. It starts off in the snowy village.
Oh yeah, that would be one of the Freedom games from the second generation.
Okay. I always thought it was Tri. I was never sure. Mostly because, like I said, I don't own it. And then I got into it playing for you with you and a couple of our friends in high school, and
yeah,
I think I've played all of them since.
Probably not 1 and 2.
I'd say, yeah.
1G.
No, all of them.
All of the release titles
for you
since then, I understand.
Up.
Okay.
Yes. I might have missed one of the, we were just talking about it last night. Jen had, 5 different fucking releases. I think I've played 2 of them instead of all 5, but it's basically the same game.
Right.
Not quite, but, I've played all of the major entries into it since then, and I'm very excited to learn about the world because, like I said, I've just never cared. It's very much a mash through dialogue and cutscenes because they don't matter. when you're playing the game.
Right.
Also, Tyler just likes Rise because Gunlance is shit everywhere else.
No, I think Rise is a very good game, but I don't want to talk about that.
It is. That's not the point. Please continue.
I will give a brief sort of synopsis of how the games come out. So, the history of Monster Hunter, there's a main title release. That's Monster Hunter 1, Monster Hunter 2. I guess it was Monster Hunter Tri for some reason. And then I think in the West we got For You first. I don't think we ever got For or Cross. I think it was in Japan.
Yeah,
but
I believe that's true.
But they do a main release, and then they will sort of do a spin-off or re-release of one of those games as a new title, but they usually add in either G rank or master rank. They add in new flagship monsters. Oftentimes, I think in every game, they've had a completely new monster for you to fight, or several, and the story is a little bit different. That being said, I do have to lay some foundations about what Monster Hunter looks like now. So there are things that are not inherently explained within the games themselves. This is just something that you sort of pick up by consuming a lot of Monster Hunter content, reading a lot about the games, playing the games, and then reading while you play, which is cringe, I will admit that. But to start, the world is inhabited by monsters, and we see these in the forms of dragons and wyverns, beasts, bug monsters, leviathans, you name it. And there's humans and wyverians, which are another race of humanoids. Think of them as like elves, I suppose. They have pointed ears and they live for a very long time.
For a reason.
Okay.
That aside, unironically, are they humans? Because one of the lore channels that I just found recently that I believe you've been listening to as well, it sounds like he is giving his videos from the perspective of being within the world.
So, yes, the hunters that you play are humans in the same way that we're humans. Same average life expectancy. I guess if you want to get into biology and everything like that, it's the same. They're just your people. And then there's also wyverians, which are sort of like an ancient race that live for much longer than humans. They're not often hunters. Because of their longer lifespans, they prefer to do research or perfect a craft. And they come in so many different variations. I said elves because of the pointed ears, but
of course,
they can be really short. Or if you're talking about His Eminence, which is a massively influential wyverian, he's just also massive. He has a lot of power, and he is very large. And because of the differences in sort of their physical appearance, they just are kind of like the encompassing other fantasy races. You have short ones, you have tall ones, you have massive hulking ones, etc. That's what the wyverians they occupy that sort of fantasy element of like other races in the world. But in order for humans and wyverians to survive in a world filled with monsters, these monsters oftentimes need to be dealt with, and that's where we get the guild. Now, the guild is a governing body when it comes to dealing with monsters. They employ hunters to solve the issues. You play in the game as these hunters, and you receive quests from usually the village or the town that you're in first, and then the guild later. I think most of our listeners know this already because most of them are our friends that we've played the game with. But something that I bet most of you didn't know is that outside of hunters or members of the guild, the lifestyle is very similar to a more pre-industrial lifestyle that we experience here on Earth. You are in a city or a village, and you carry out day-to-day jobs to make a living and survive within your community.
I'd say a lot of that is coming kind of from the idea of like the perspective that we're seeing in the games is a lot of them are out on some kind of a frontier or like an unexplored and like overall uninhabited area. I'm sure you'll get into it a little bit, and I know a little bit of like the ancient world history.
Yeah, exactly.
But I assume there's like cities, like full functioning cities, but like, they're safe and locked down, and like that'd just be boring as fuck to like play a game, specifically a Monster Hunter game within that area. So we're seeing the like frontier spaces of like, hey, there is risk, there is danger here, because if there isn't, it's not going to be a fun game.
Yeah,
and like they write the lore of it, but like it's not what matters as much when you're
exactly. So
fake genociding a million monsters.
You have villages, which are usually on sort of like the outskirts of, I guess, civilization. And there's also different nations throughout the world that I don't want to talk about today, because I don't want to just flood you with useless information from a podcast where you would need that visual reference to sort of place everything. But there's cities like Dondorma, which is the online hub from Monster Hunter 2, and that's actually the main headquarters of the Hunters Guild.
Okay.
I think you also see it in Monster Hunter 4U.
I think that's where G rank quests take place. Or like
yes,
for G rank stuff.
It's a large, like, city or kingdom. And then there's something like, Moga Village, which is from Try and Try You. There's what is Selenia? Selenia is one of these outposts that I want to talk about, where it is strictly there to launch guild operations out of. And the same can sort of be said for Astera, but Astera is shaping up to be like a large city in the new world. And I think that's kind of like what it's going to end up becoming.
Those both being the only two hubs that matter within Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, and to sort of get back on track here, the people live in one of these cities or villages or towns, and most of the game that you play takes place in what is just generally called the frontier or the wilderness. This is where the monsters live, and this is where we go to hunt them. And like I said with Selenia, there are often guild outposts that are like sort of constructed in the frontier or the wilderness to launch hunters out of. And these areas are not places of civilization. You can think of them as like a military base, I suppose. But yeah, so in general, the guild protects people by having hunters set out and deal with the problems. There's also guardians, which just defend the cities. So in some of those really annoying sieges that exist in the games where you have to prevent, a massive monster from walking into a town and fucking it up, or like the rampages in Rise, typically a guardian is going to be like the common foot soldier that deals with those sieges.
I think we can both appreciate that. I don't believe either of us have had to fight Lao Shenlong. You might have.
No, I did. Actually. Freedom Unite. Yeah.
Okay.
There was.
that was Freedom Unite. I thought it was before Freedom.
Yeah, okay. That was Lao Shenlong. And
in that case, I apologize. I've seen that fight. It looks awful.
There was also a siege of a giant crab monster of some kind that I can't remember off the top of my head, that wore a skull of Lao Shenlong. It might have just been a giant Shogun Hermitard that found a skull that was large enough for it to grow to that size, and thus, became that large. But this is what the games take place in. There's an established guild. You're a hunter. There's rules that hunters follow, like no poaching, etc. And all of the key quests and urgent quests that you do throughout the game, canonically, you only do them once as the hunter. But in the gameplay, you might repeat them to grind out a set or, get a weapon for that monster.
For fun, if you like fighting that monster.
Exactly. So at times it can feel like you're genociding the entire race of elder dragons because you just got your achievement for slaying like 50 Kirin, and it's like, how many are really in this area?
Yeah.
But
you've only killed. We understand that in the meta narrative, we've only killed one.
Precisely. So that is how the world operates now, and what I'm going to talk about next is how it came to be this way. I'm going to share with you all the creation myth of the world of Monster Hunter. Where this information comes from is directly from the game. It's from Monster Hunter World, and it's found in your player's home. And so here's the tale of the five. Once there was a world without time. The world was nothing but white light, inhabited by people and 5 dragons. In that world, there was only eternity and a sun that burned without beginning or end. And because there was only timeless eternity, nothing was ever lost, yet nothing was ever gained. One day, the people began to wonder why their world had no beginning or end, so they asked the dragons. The dragons opened their mouths as if to answer, but from their mouths poured water instead of words. It rushed out in streams to create the sky and the oceans, and the dragons swam away. The dragons swam to the center of the ocean, and there they began to transform into an island. One dragon sank into the sea and became the land. One dragon lifted its gaze to the sky and became the mountains. One dragon stooped low and became the lakes, and scattered its scales to create the rain. One dragon fell into a deep slumber and became the forest. The last dragon climbed into the sky to become a star of sapphire blue, shining brightly above the island. The people could not understand why the dragons had left, or why they had transformed. Eventually, a lone youth decided to go to the island to seek the answers from the dragons themselves. He donned a simple cloak, climbed into the boat, and cast off alone into the murky seas. At last, guided by the sapphire star, he reached the island of the 5. Some time passed, and the youth returned.
"Did you speak with the dragons?" the people asked.
"Yes, I spoke with them," he replied.
"Then tell us, why did they create the island?"
But the youth did not answer. Instead, he reached into his cloak and pulled out 5 dragon's scales, which he gave to the people. And then before anyone realized, the youth had disappeared. The people left their white world and sailed across the ocean. Using the 5 scales, they created their own lands, their own mountains, their own lakes, and their own forest. Last of all, they created a bright moon, so that the sapphire star, which guided the youth during his voyage to seek the dragons, would no longer shine alone in the sky. The land grew large enough to obscure the sun, and day and night were born. The mountains, lakes, and forests breathed together, and the seasons were born. The moon cast its light on the ocean, and waves were born, and thus time was also born. Swept up in the almighty current of time, the people came to know death, but the people also came to know life. Countless days and countless nights have passed since people first came to live on the lands they had created. As time passed, they lost the memory of the 5 dragons, and even the memory of how time itself had been born. But deep inside their hearts there dwelt a quiet knowledge of the island of the 5, the most sacred place in the world, which to this day sleeps in the middle of the ocean, uninhabited by people and unchanged even by the relentless flow of time. So there it is. This is the beginning of the world, as the myth says, and humans built civilization out of it. But this is not the civilization that gave rise to the guild. Oh no, this is the civilization whose ruins you explore, loot, and uncover in the game. You see, this civilization fell to its own hubris when they sought to conquer nature. In this world, I deliberately left out that the balance with nature is something that is on the people to uphold. It's a center theme of the games, and you see it in World with, Nergigante sort of interfering with, what is that massive one?
Zora Magdaros.
Zora Magdaros, thank you.
Yeah.
And in Rise, you see it with Malzeno, who took on a parasitic infliction and disease to protect the land surrounding the Citadel from a slumbering elder dragon beneath. You see, the ancient civilization was greedy and ignored this balance that was on their shoulders to uphold. They used monsters' materials to craft more and more powerful weapons. You see, they killed indiscriminately, wiping out populations of monsters and dragons alike, and using them to create powerful weapons or long-standing structures that are near indestructible. I don't know if you've played a game where you can go to the tower, Ian, but in any game where the tower is present, I think it's in the 2nd generation, you can mine at the tower and you can get ancient dragon scales. And those are actually the scales of Kushala Daora that they slayed to construct a near indestructible tower in that area. So this ancient civilization is killing elder dragons and wyverns in such mass numbers to sort of erect these monuments to their own narcissism. This imbalance in nature was not tolerated for long, and the final straw that broke the dragon's back, so to speak, was this abomination, this destructive weapon known as the Wyvern Machine Soldier, or the Equal Dragon Weapon. This was a living being that was made from biological and artificial means, and the cost to dragons was great. One of these weapons necessitated the death of 30 elder dragons. That exchange rate, combined with the greed and the desires for the ancient civilization to become all-powerful, simply could not stand in this world, and thus the Great Dragon War began. The dragons, sick of being cattle, began destroying everything they could, and the ancient civilization responded in kind. All of the civilization was wiped from the face of Earth, or the planet, I suppose, and most of the dragon species were also taken out. The exact events of the war are unknown. There's no historic or epic battles that we have tales of. We only see the ruins that are left and relics that we can find. But there is a tale that is immortal and ever-present among the young children of the world. A song that is sung throughout the world. The legend of the Black Dragon was first revealed to us by a poet clad in red, someone that I want to talk about briefly in a future episode. But for now, he being in-game, he's an in-game character, submitted this song to the Hunting Life section of Monster Hunter Freedom and Freedom Unite. There's basically a little tab where you can go through and get trivia and some lore updates, and in there we have The Legend of the Black Dragon.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that, actually. That's pretty nice that they have that in there for the people that want it.
Yeah. And so this comes directly from Freedom Unite and the Freedom Games. So without further ado, here's the submission from the poet clad in red. Hasn't there been a song stuck in your head? A song sung by the children all across the land? A song with soul, sung diligently in the streets and in the alleys? What is that song? The legend of death? Death by a giant wyvern has been revived. It is the legend of the Black Dragon. Everyone should know it, as it is based on a famous fairy tale. However, I think the fact that everyone is singing this song is actually a sign. They say children are always first to foretell the changing of the world. They are said to have a special sense for these kind of things. I have gathered as much information as I could from the corners of this world, and I have told those who should be told. However, no one believes me. This is why I have begged for a few pages in Hunting Life to explain the legend to all who care to learn. The legend of the Black Dragon is said to exist everywhere, and while there are changes in the lyrics depending on location, the content of the song is the same. So please understand that the lyrics printed below are representative of the song as I know it. The lyrics may be different where you are located. And here are the lyrics that were published alongside this. When the world is full of wyverns, the legend is revived. Meat is eaten, bone is crunched, and blood is sucked up dry. He burns the earth and melts through iron. He boils the rivers and mows down trees. He awakens the winds and lights an inferno. He is called Fatalis, the wyvern of destiny. He is called Fatalis, the wyvern of destruction. Call for help, run for your lives, and don't forget to pray to the skies. He is called Fatalis, the wyvern of destiny. He is called Fatalis, the wyvern of destruction. Fatalis, Fatalis, heaven and earth are yours. Fatalis, Fatalis, heaven and earth are yours. But I think we'll leave off there. As now all of the important foundations of the world have been laid out. And I wish to expand on it for all of you, Ian and myself. Me and Ian truly love this series. And I think me and you have played through 5 games together. Maybe not all the way through, but we have played 5 different games together at this point. And while the gameplay is what always brings us back and opens our wallets, the world is just as captivating. This series is so amazing and so deep if you want it to be, or it can just be the best game to just sit there and, play, progress, get stronger, see bigger numbers. The mechanics are, phenomenal. It's just one of those games. Yeah. But the reason why I wanted to talk about Monster Hunter is we're coming up on 20 years of Monster Hunter next year. In March of next year, it will be 20 years since Monster Hunter 1 first released for the PlayStation 2. And I've been playing for probably 12 years now. So it didn't really sort of sink in how long I've been playing these games. And like you said, it's not, I've been playing for 12 years straight. I have played this game at least once a year every 12 years. I started reading more about it. I'm getting really excited for the next generation of the game to come out. Because like you said, every generation it gets just something about the game gets better for the player to experience. The monsters are evolving into crazy mechanics and new things are added to the game constantly. they did title updates for Rise for 2 years after it was released. I think it came out in 21.
I was under the impression they haven't stopped yet, to be perfectly honest. Did they officially?
They did. They stopped in March.
Oh, okay. I mean, still, that's a pretty long time.
So it's been 7 months since the title updates for Rise have stopped, which means that they're now full force, full steam ahead on the next generation. And I think we're going to get an announcement for it in March of next year. And right now, I literally cannot kick Monster Hunter from my brain, so I'm going to be talking about it a lot. And there's going to be more episodes to come. So with that, I want to say thank you for listening. All of the information that I've talked about today can be found on the Monster Hunter fandom website and also within the respective game that they pulled the information from. So everything that I've found is actually written down somewhere in the games. And, I've also talked briefly, there's a ton of YouTubers that have really gotten me into this deep dive. Oceaniz is one of them. And I know recently, like 2 days ago, you stumbled across one of his videos.
He's the one that I spent most of yesterday listening to, his ecology series.
Yeah, his ecology series are amazing. And then the forbidden episodes of his ecology series are outstanding storytelling. He literally just sinks himself in to the role of a hunter that sort of picks up and goes through all of the urgent quests and sort of journals about it is how he formats it. And it's so cool and so well done. So if you have 7 hours to kill, you should listen to the world one for sure. And he also has about 4 hours of ecology on Rise.
Yeah, the only reason that I haven't personally listened to those already is because I know you're going to be talking about them, and I wanted to have it fresh for when you talk about it, as opposed to knowing all of the not knowing all the points you're going to make, but knowing what you're going to be talking about. That's the only reason I haven't already listened to that 7-hour think piece.
So, I think with that, we're all set today. Again, thank you for listening.
But with that, I've been Ian.
And I'm always Tyler. And Fatalis, heaven and earth are yours. Fatalis, heaven and earth are yours.
Next week, we're talking about RuneScape GFs. How much they cost on average, and are you overpaying for